Hi everyone, welcome back. And no, don't worry, I'm not talking about the Paper Republic Grand Voyager yet again. It is an illustration to tell you that I love these modular setups. So you've got one permanent notebook cover, the leather one, and then inside the actual notebooks come and go. And I do like this pocket one from Paper Republic because it lets me go completely off-brand with the refills. So I do still have one Paper Republic one in there, but the other three are all Clairefontaine and they're Life Unplugged. This was just a natural colour. I put a horse stencil on there. This was red, but I found the red too vivid, so I painted over with acrylic and stuck some stickers on. And yeah, I think I did that with the next one as well. Obviously, you can tell the inner page is red, but I like the green. What I also shared is that although I like this, the other Grand Voyager that I had was the XL size, and I was really tired of it having a non-standard size because that tied me into having to buy proprietary notebooks. So I couldn't go off-brand with that. So what I actually did is I have now sold the one that you saw just the other day in the video and decided that I might go for what you had suggested to me, which is Nota leather. And I'll show that on screen. I was thinking about Nota leather or going for an A5 from Paper Republic again because I do like the quality of their leather. However, I thought, do you know what? I once had in a mystery box this very inexpensive, granted not as good quality leather, but still perfectly serviceable cover from CultPens, which they did with Vivid, is made from 100% genuine leather by working with factories that are audited and approved to international standards. And they cost £12 on their own, and they are literally just a cover for a notebook. But I thought, well, I could make it modular, which I did with this one, but I did a real hack job. So you can see that I was equipped with nothing but leftover string, and I decided to use my box cutter to make the holes, which, you know, we all know that's not a good idea. You need something more precise. But having done that to this £12 cover, I thought, I will do it even better. And what this one houses, so I got it last May in a mystery box. This one houses my XL planner from Paper Republic and another Paper Republic notebook. And I think this is Tsubami. Yeah, a Tsubami notebook. Now, I'm taking off the brooch because I had used this in decorative capacity, but then I realized where I'd put the brooch with the dragon on there. This is actually really functional for saving your edges there. I think people sometimes buy a brass one to put the string in, and then you just sort of guard your edges of your notepad or your leather. Right, so I'll put that one aside and pull this in. So this here is the CultPens cover, and you can get it as a bundle with a notebook. But what I was saying about not liking proprietary books, that applies here as well. When you get the notebook for this CultPens Vivid Wrap cover, it actually fits their A5 cover. So I'll show you the description of this, and they've actually now made it really plain on the writing to say that it's slightly smaller than A5. So if you want to be fitting A5 notebooks into here, it's not really going to work. And that's because of the margins created by the stitching. Now you can see that this is a lot thinner than the Paper Republic. Let's say that Paper Republic is almost twice as thick. I'll try and get a bit closer so we can see that. I reckon it's almost twice as thick as this Vivid Wrap. And that brand name has reminded me, don't you think that what I got is far more vivid than what we see on the product page? I'm really surprised. Usually I'd expect the product page to be brighter and more saturated, but in this case it's reversed. But I think what you would have noticed is the price. So we said £12 and then it was on sale, so that went down, and then I used my 15% off code on top of the sale code, and in the end this cost me £9.18. So even cheaper than me trying to find an ethically sourced scrap of leather for me to actually work on to create a cover, and I've actually got the stitching on the edges as well. So that's something I don't have to worry about adding in. Of course, this doesn't have that sort of stitching. Like I say, this is still, you know, superior quality leather. But this is the sort of workmanship I can't do on my own. It is single stitching, so just to be aware that they're not very, very sturdy. I think if you know, like really pulled here, you could probably make it come apart, but we're not going to do that. And you can see it's got the glue in there that you'd expect. But this one, unlike, and I'll link my original video for my unboxing of the tan one, where the glue was so stuck to almost there and I had to loosen it. This one was already loosened, so that was quite good. Anyway, we're not going to be trying to stick anything in. We're going to make holes there, and we're going to create a modular system. So here we go. Now, you'll be happy to know I'm not using a box cutter, but if you think I've invested in any leatherworking tools, I have just got a drawing pin and I've got some crochet stuff which will hopefully come in handy. And I have, however, got proper threads rather than looking for something in my junk drawer. I'm also not just going to eyeball it, I am going to use a ruler, and I had already figured out where I want this, so I'm going to go with 1 centimeter above the line of the stitching. So where the blue stitching is, I've lined it up with the ruler and then put the hole in on the first bit there. And I'm going to repeat that over here, and it is actually in line with this existing cord, and I'm going to make sure it's in line with the hole that I've made at the bottom. And you can see that the leather is not very thick, because I can make that hole really easily. I'm going to go in from this side as well. Just having a look at my Paper Republic, and they made their holes really close to the edge there. So I'll count the ones that I've just made as those furthest from the edge. Go closer to the edge of the actual leather to make the next holes. Let's see how far apart these are. I'll say 0.5 centimeter. Aside from wanting to try an A5 modular system without spending around £100, upcycling something that cost me less than 1/10 of that also ties into my I Evolve theme. In 2027, I want to focus more on personalization and adaptation, mostly using what I already own rather than always looking for the next new thing. And also reimagining less loved items and giving them a new purpose that better fits what I actually need. So I'll be going low cost to no cost. Obviously, I will widen those holes. From my crochet set, I'm just using an aluminium stitch holder to widen the holes that we've made. So we've got 4 holes where we're going to thread through the elastic cord. These elastic cords are really inexpensive. I think it was £8 for 7, and I would usually go for black, olive green or burgundy, but I think they don't really go with the colour. So let me know what colour you would have gone for. In the end, I decided something this vibrant blue needs a vibrant cord, and the only vibrant cord that I had was this orange. The shorter band is actually an internal connector band that allows you to connect the notebooks together without having to go from the outside. So we won't be using that, we'll be using what I'm unpacking here, which is a longer one. And I have actually got the ones that are already pre-cut to make sure that they will definitely fit A5. So all I'll have to do is thread this through and then cut away the excess. The good thing is I don't need to worry about the central band because we've already got that in. And we just have to worry about putting the long cords across, and we're going to start from the outside, working our way in. It's pretty straightforward, especially if you've got the holes that are wide enough for the thread to pass through. But if there's any difficulty in actually passing the thread through, all you need to do is widen the hole again using what I used or whatever you have to hand, just not a box cutter or something that's really going to widen it too much. And then if you also have any problems in terms of you've managed to get the thread aligned with the hole, you know the hole is big enough but you're having trouble pulling the thread through, you can do something like use a pair of tweezers to pull it through on the other end. I'm now ready to tie together the inner cord so that we have got the section that we will actually slip our notebook into, and I'll have to trim away all the excess cord after I've done that. Now, I'm really happy with the tension here, but if you're not, you can untie the knot and retie it till you're happy. This looks like the tension I've got in my Paper Republic, so I'm happy to put my A5 staple-bound notebook in. It is a Clairefontaine 1951, and it costs £4.20 full price, but I got it when it was on sale, so it was £2.94. So this is staple bound with 96 lined pages. That's 48 sheets of 90 GSM white Clairefontaine writing paper. Let's give it a go trying to put it in there, because we know it's not going to fit, because they've told us that it only fits slightly smaller than actual A5. So yeah, it wouldn't really work as a cover. And that means we're happy that we've turned this into a modular system. Now it's just a case of seeing how good a modular system it actually is. So it does fit dimension-wise. It's not overhanging anywhere around the edges, so that's positive. And it does look super skinny though, so we've got loads more room to add similar ones like that in on the other part of the cord. Or actually, I've gone for something thicker. I have gone for this cloth-bound 1951 with a lot more pages. 192 lined pages, 96 sheets, again 90 GSM white lined paper, and this time it costs £8, but I got it on sale, so it was £5.60. And I would love to claim that I knew that they were going to match, like the cover of the Clairefontaine notebook and the cover, the leather cover from CultPens Vivid Wrap. But I did not know they were going to match, because the product page was so misleading. I mean, not intentionally, but it was far more faded blue for the leather. Now you can see there's no overhang. Both notebooks fit really beautifully in here, and I think this has been a successful conversion. But of course I'm biased, so you can always let me know whether you think that works and whether that is something that you would be interested in doing. Especially because I chose to do this because I don't know where to source the best sort of leather. If you do, you can also let me know that, because it might be useful for other DIY enthusiasts to know where they can get the best leather in the UK. I know that in the States, Seaweed Kisses has recommended a few places, including somewhere called Michael's, which we don't have over here. I almost forgot about this. This here is a connector for different notebooks inside, so that you don't have to keep adding more of your strings on the outside. You'd connect them on the inside, going from one cover to the other. So now that that is on the back cover for this staple bound Clairefontaine, I should be able to slip another notebook in there. And I've got some from Paper Republic that I could slip in there that are not actually A5, but are the XL size, and they're slightly smaller than A5, so that fits in perfectly. And we can also go with this, which I think, this is definitely a Muji, but size-wise, I think it is a B6, so bigger than A6, smaller than A5, so that could go in there. Let's give that a go. And that's acceptable. I mean, it's not perfect because it is that much smaller, but you could happily carry that around and it's all covered. So put the little edge protector along there, and that looks good. But I think I like sizes that are the same, so I will find another A5 to put in there. Okay, this is a Kokuyo Purpanep, and I will slide this one in. Okay, I think 3 3 regular sized A5s are a bit too much for this. I mean, it was always a slim A5 anyway, so it already did great to house 2, so it doesn't go with 3. So I will take that third one out. That's being so optimistic. And take the third one out, and we will instead slide in as our third one of my Paper Republic XLs, which is smaller than an A5. You can see it's shorter and slimmer. And that fits fine. And we will see if we want to actually add some more. Let's see how far we can push this. So we got another one of these expanders and another Paper Republic XL thin notebook. Yep, I think that's the limit. So we've got a regular size A5 cloth bound Clairefontaine, a staple bound Clairefontaine, and 2 Paper Republic XLs, and that is just pushing them sort of like to the limits of the edge of the actual leather, but it will house it. And then this one has got one of the chunky XL planners from Paper Republic, a Paper Republic notepad insert, also an XL, and then the Tsubami Fool in there. This one does look a whole lot neater from the top compared to this one, but you know, I'm still I'm pretty comfortable with the brown one, and weirdly the brown one feels a little bit more lush than the blue. I don't know if the crinkles in this blue cover are gonna sort of like iron themselves out over time, because this one feels or looks like it's better than this. I don't know how to describe it. Not even sure if that comes through, but it's almost like a paper ripple on that leather over there, which isn't very good. Whereas here, this is all smooth and looks quite luxe. So I'm hoping that that's the case, that this is just going to straighten itself out over time. Now, if you do get this one and you don't want to, you know, put the holes in it and use it as a modular system, then instead of £12, I think it's like 20 or 24, I'll put the price up and you get the book that comes with it. But I purely wanted the cover, so that was £12 when it's full price. It comes in this little sleeve, and of course I got it cheaper because it was a sale and was £10.80. And then I used my loyalty points and I got 15% off. So that keeps bringing the price down. So let's do some totals. For this, I'm only going to count what I actually bought. So we've got the full price of the leather refillable cover, £12, the Clairefontaine large notebook, 8, and the smaller one, £4.20. That's £24.20, but they were on sale, so the total of that comes down to £19.34. And then I had my 15% discount, so we reduced that again to £16.43, or $22.23. And then if we decide to add on the elastic cord and connector band, it becomes £20.08, or $27.18. Okay, so I really enjoyed doing this, and I would say it was a worthwhile project for me because I sold off my XL planner that was, you know, that sort of shape and size and format that I was a little unhappy with because I couldn't just use different brands in it, and now I can use whatever brand I want. You saw that this fits a number of different brands, and it is almost A5. I don't know why all these A5 leather covers are not entirely A5. We've heard of other brands that say they're A5 and then you end up having to use an A5 slim. Anyway, instead of me grumbling about that, let's just have a think about this. I have spent, if we don't count the strings and stuff, about £17. So you add the strings in, it's about £20. And then we look at the other journals I could have gone for. Definitely, I think the leather is better on those. So Paper Republic, I know, is definitely better. I'm guessing No to Leather is better. But No to Leather, the cheapest one without the folds and everything, the A5 is £73. So that's another £53 on top of what I've paid. And then for the Paper Republic, we have got, I think it was £180. I'll put it on screen. So I think value-wise, this is a good project to have, but you can always save up and get exactly what you're looking for. Just be mindful that for a lot of brands, A5 does not necessarily mean A5, so always look at the dimensions. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you had a good time, and I really appreciate that you spent your time with me. Take care. Bye.